Hello everyone and welcome to this special edition of ETC3 TV. I'm Kristy Lindstrom. Today's program is part of a special 5-part series entitled Your Mental Health Matters. It's okay to not be okay. This is the second show in the series. We started in August, and this is part of a larger mental health awareness initiative in Fannin County. It's the initiative of Fannin County Family Connection and other supporting organizations, and those include the Blue Ridge Community Theater, the Fannin County Division of Family and Children's Services, Fannin County Public Library, Highland Rivers Health, also the North Georgia Autism Foundation, the North Georgia Mountain Crisis Network, and the Craddock Center. So all of those wonderful supporting organizations making today's show and the larger mental health awareness initiative in Fannin County possible. According to statistics, 1 in 5 Americans will be diagnosed with a mental health condition in any given year. So the goal of the campaign is to let you know that you are not alone in your struggle. This series is part of a monthly talk series, the third Thursday of each month on ETC at 3 o'clock. We're also broadcasting live on the Fannin County Family Connection Facebook page, and you can find mental health resources on the Fannin County Family Connection website at fcfc1.org. On today's show, we will talk to Anna Speessen. She is the coordinator of the Mental Health Awareness Campaign in Fannin County. Also, you'll meet Michael Mullet with Highland Rivers Health. He will introduce us to 2 ladies who are on their own recovery journeys because September is Recovery Month. Also, Noelle is here to talk about suicide prevention and awareness. But let's get started on today's show with my special guest, Anna Speessen. She is in charge of the larger mental health awareness campaign in Fannin County.
Generous.
Well, and every time I say that, it's kind of daunting to think of all of the work that you've done, but you always give credit to everyone, but
Yeah.
this project rests on your shoulders.
It's not mine alone, though. I don't think if it wouldn't be for our collaborative members, we wouldn't be doing what we do. We started the campaign right after the civic dinner that we hosted. We started the strategy team, started meeting. We identified mental health as a community concern, and now we have our mental health campaign. Our objective is to educate our community and to try and remove the negative stigma that surrounds mental health. And we're hoping with these mindful activities that people are more confident in dealing with not only their own mental health journey, but others who suffer from mental health as well.
And all of the experts that we've had on the show, they've all said that there is a stigma surrounding mental health. We go to the doctor for most things,
Right.
but we don't want to go to the doctor to talk about our mental health. And then also, I remember on the last show, Dr. Rocky talked about the words that we use, whether
Yeah.
it's illness or condition or an issue that you're dealing with. Also, the words kind of stigmatize mental health, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and we're hoping just through these activities to start that community conversation so that people understand you're not alone.
Right.
Everybody goes through a mental health journey. May take you a little longer than me or vice versa, but you're not alone, and it's okay to seek help, and that's our goal as a collaborative.
And I think Dr. Rocky mentioned also and others that there can be light at the end of the tunnel. For some, your journey may be longer than others, but for some, they can work through the issues that they're dealing with and come out on the other side.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's happening in October. I can't believe October's
I
tomorrow.
know.
We're live. You're going to be having community watch parties for a documentary.
Yes.
Tell me about this documentary.
Angst is a original documentary from Indie Flicks. It is about living with anxiety and what that looks like, and how to cope when you're living with anxiety.
And how did you choose this, or how did you find this movie and want to bring it to the community?
Well, I think we all suffer from anxiety. I suffered some anxiety getting ready for today. And I think usually the fear and the distress that's associated with anxiety kind of forces us to focus and to practice and prepare.
Yes.
So, for example, if you're driving in heavy traffic, you're going to feel some fear, you're going to feel some anxiety, but it forces you to focus and to avoid accidents. And when anxiety disrupts your daily routine or prevents you from doing something, that's when anxiety becomes a problem. But we all suffer from it. And so this movie focuses with elementary and high school students and their stories on anxiety, the physical symptoms that they experience, and their coping mechanisms, their positive strategies that they use to live with anxiety. The main goal of the movie is to let the audience know that you're not alone, and it's okay to not be okay.
And how did you, or how did the locations come to be, and what are the locations? Like, how can somebody watch this documentary in person, and is there another way to watch?
We have 3 community viewing opportunities. The first one is October 27th at the Craddock Center. It's one of our collaboratives on the strategy team.
Okay.
That one starts at 6:30. The next one, Sherry Morris is going to host at Family Connections in the Link Community Room. That's the Thursday. That one also starts at 6:30.
That's October 28th.
28th, yes. And then the Blue Ridge Community Theater is our final community viewing, and that's Saturday at 4 o'clock on the 30th of October. And they're also a collaborative. And if you can't come to one of our community viewings, you can go to the Fannin County webpage and you can click Watch from Home or Watch Virtually. And then it opens October 25th and closes on November 1st. And so that anytime during that week, as a family, if you want to sit down and watch the show in your own home, you're more than welcome to do that as well. We are going to have an opportunity for discussions after the community viewing. So if you are watching it at home and you want to zoom in for that Q&A or that discussion part, we'll have the Zoom link for that.
So as Anna mentioned, you can watch the documentary Angst in person on Wednesday, October 27th at 6:30 at the Craddock Center, on Thursday, October 28th at 6:30 at Fannin County Family Connection, and then Saturday, October 30th at 4 o'clock at the Blue Ridge Community Theater. And you can register on the Fannin County Family Connection webpage, always that fcfc1.org.
Yes.
And then if you click on mental health, the tab will be there for Angst, and that's ANGST. You just click on Angst documentary, and then you can register there.
Yep.
Now, is this free, or is there a cost involved with this?
No, it is free. Family Connections has purchased the viewing license for the week, so
Okay.
it is free to the audience. And we will have a panel of professionals to help us with the question and discussion afterwards, post-viewing.
So the time frame for this is the movie is roughly,
About 56 minutes, I think.
Okay.
The movie's about an hour, and so if you give us about 20 minutes for the Q&A afterwards, you're looking at an hour and a half.
so an hour and a half can give you a great discussion, a great learning opportunity about anxiety. You can bring your family.
Yeah, oh, please do. I was researching the movie, and there was a quote from a 9-year-old student who watched the movie with his father. And he said at the end, "I am so glad that my dad watched this with me, because now he knows I'm not making things up."
Oh,
And
wow.
so it is a really good opportunity for teachers and parents and students to understand what it's like to live with anxiety, and how it's 100% treatable. And identifying it, and then learning those strategies to manage the physical symptoms that are associated with anxiety.
And like you said, if you want to watch this from the comfort of your own home, or maybe inside an organization, and you don't want to be in the public when you watch, there is that opportunity for the virtual viewing. So you just go to the Fannin County Family Connection page, click on Angst, and then there's a virtual opportunity there listed.
Yep, there's a little blue link. It says register here. You click it, and then off to the right side, there's also, if you don't want to join us for the discussion, there's a discussion guide for parents, so that if they want to have that discussion at home with their children, then they can. It's kind of a guide to guide them through some difficult conversations.
And there's someone pretty famous in this documentary that
Yes.
may catch people's attention, right?
Yes, Michael Phelps makes a guest appearance. It's my favorite part of the show because he surprises a little boy on the show, and he talks about his own mental health journey and his how he dealt growing up with anxiety, and he talks about how he used to push it down, and avoidance is a strategy for coping with anxiety. It's just not a very positive one. It's because eventually all that you push down is going to come out in some way. So he said his recovery started when he started talking about it. Because talking about it, he realized he wasn't the only one going through this. And so that was his first step. And I think for a lot of people, their first step is to recognize, to talk to someone about it. Text a friend, call someone that you care about or that cares about you, and just talking about it is most often the first step to seeking help.
Well, thank you for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for
a pleasure.
all the work that you're doing. And as an aside, Anna is a board member for Fannin County Family Connection and on the staff of the University of North Georgia Blue Ridge. So you were able to reach students through, you're doing some mental health awareness on your posts there, right?
Yes,
University of North
on
Georgia?
our social media.
Right.
And we have in-house workshops as well. We have one on suicide prevention and to celebrate, well, not celebrate, but to honor a recognized Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. We just got done with our stress management and test anxiety workshop last week. So we also are having our in-house mental health initiative.
Very good. Well, if anybody again wants to see these community documentaries or the community viewings, the watch parties for the documentary Angst, they are Wednesday, October 27th, 6:30, Craddock Center, Thursday, October 28th, 6:30, Fannin County Family Connection, and Saturday, October 30th at 4 o'clock at the Blue Ridge Community Theater. Free events,
Yes.
about an hour and a half of your time for the documentary, as well as a Q&A afterwards. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, and we are going to take our first break, and when we come back, Noelle Beard is here. She's going to talk about suicide prevention and awareness. So stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to this special edition of ETC3 TV. I'm Kristy Lindstrom. We are today here in the studio. It's the second program in a series of 5 programs about your mental health. It's called Your Mental Health Matters. It's okay to not be okay. And it's an initiative by Fannin County Family Connection and other supporting organizations to support mental health. And we are bringing you specialists in this field all through the end of the year, the third Thursday of each month at 3 o'clock right here on ETC. And now my guest is Noelle Beard. She is a suicide prevention and awareness specialist. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Now tell me about your education and your career, why you chose this path. Those are probably a lot of answers, but
Yes.
Let's go back to your education. Tell me about your education.
So I have a master's in professional counseling. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia, and I offer therapy for adolescents, children, and adults. And then when I came to Highland Rivers, I got into prevention, and we received a grant at that time, and it was a suicide prevention grant specifically for individuals aged 10 to 24. And I began work on that grant and really found my passion for suicide prevention. And very shortly after we received the grant, it kind of expanded to all of the counties that we served. So I went from serving 1 county to 12 counties and now 13 counties. And I really assist our communities with anything to do with suicide prevention, intervention, or postvention.
So how does a community find out about you, about your services, and how do they figure out if you can offer what they need? What's that process of, if there's a community out there, because we serve Fannin, Gilmer, Pickens, Polk, and beyond via social media, how can they figure out what they need?
So it's really easy. They can contact Highland Rivers at zerosuicide@highlandrivers.org, or they can call Highland Rivers, and they'll be put in contact with me, and then I can really help a community or a church or an organization kind of figure out what they are doing to support suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention, and how we can be of assistance to them. So that may look like education, or raising awareness through an event, or it might look like really kind of examining an agency's protocols or policies, and assisting in putting steps into place to ensure that we're handling those aspects of suicide prevention.
And because you have a grant, does that mean that these services, when you work with organizations, are they free, or how would an organization pay for that?
So the services are free. They're provided by Highland Rivers Health, and there is no cost associated.
Okay. So as an organization, as a community, perhaps stakeholders can come together, sort of like this collaborative that put together this program, come together and decide what services an organization or a group needs, and then, like you said, reach out to, what was the number again, or the email?
The email is ZeroSuicide at
And
Highland.
that's ZERO?
Yes.
ZERO suicide.
At highlandrivers.org.
Okay. Now you teach a class. Tell me about the class that you teach.
So I actually am fortunate enough to do a lot of training in all of our communities. One of my favorites is QPR, and it stands for Question, Persuade, and Refer. And what that is a gatekeeper training, basically that allows someone to really identify how to ask the question if someone might be feeling suicidal, how to persuade them to stay alive, and how to refer them to the help that they might need. And so it is a wonderful training. It's very hopeful, which is why it's one of my favorites. It takes about an hour to an hour and a half, and we go over everything involved in asking the question and following that through. It can be really empowering and kind of raise awareness and empower people to feel more comfortable to maybe ask a question that they wouldn't have wanted to ask prior to that.
And I've heard people say before in doing research online that sometimes people are afraid to ask another person about suicide or even engage in a conversation because they think that they might put that thought into their head. Is that rational thinking, or if someone said that to you in the training, what would be your response if someone was afraid?
So that is probably one of the number one myth in suicide prevention.
Okay.
We are afraid that if we ask, we might plant the idea. It's simply not true. Unfortunately, we all know about suicide, and asking someone will actually do the opposite. It opens up an opportunity for intervention. Sometimes people who feel suicidal are really isolated and they're not sure who they could talk to about their feelings. So by us asking, we're presenting ourselves as a safe person and we're saying it's okay to talk to me. So it is absolutely a myth, absolutely not true, and actually the opposite. We lower anxiety and we lower the potential for an impulsive act when we ask someone if they're feeling suicidal.
Well, that's great to know, because I have read that myself and had others in discussions to say that, and so that's good to know that that's a myth.
Yeah.
So based on your professional experience, is there any way to make a blanket statement or to categorize, based on your experience, what causes someone to reach that point that they want to commit suicide? Is there any way to make a statement or explain what position or place people get to?
I mean,
to choose that?
if I had to summarize, I would say pain. And so that looks like psychological pain, emotional pain, sometimes physical pain. Oftentimes people who feel suicidal are ambivalent. They want to live and they want to die. And it's not necessarily a desire for death. It really is a desire to stop the pain. And I feel like, sometimes it's hard to relate to that pain, but we all know when we're in pain, we're going to do anything that we can do to get out of pain, right? And so sometimes when we're feeling this much pain, it may seem like the only alternative is to take your life. Now, I know, and the people that are in recovery know, that there are other alternatives. There's other options available. There is hope and there is recovery.
So what are those options? Because we were talking about the class, which is enabling or empowering others to know how to work with others who may be experiencing that. But what if someone's watching and they themselves are experiencing issues or ideas of becoming suicidal?
Yeah.
What would you say as a professional to that person to help them, or what are the alternatives that they can seek to help them recover?
So I would want someone to know that there are definitely resources available locally and nationally within our community. So Highland Rivers is a resource, and anyone is welcome to come in at any time and be assessed. We have a Georgia Crisis and Access line that they can call at any time, and that will also assist them with maybe setting an appointment to see someone. There is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-TALK. And then there is a crisis text line, which is 741-741. And any of those places are open for anyone to reach out and assist for them to be able to get linked up to the treatment that they might need.
And back to your training, the QPR, could we go through like a mini training as I'm sitting here thinking about it? So if we go to the Q part, the question, what are some of the things that you say to individuals? Because I know we have had individuals who have taken their lives in our school system of varying ages, people in our business industries in the community. Like it's no respecter of persons, all ages, all walks of life. So if you're someone that may encounter someone who has an issue, tell me about the Q. How do you teach that, or what would you say?
So the shortest answer I can give you, and I always encourage people to ask the question in whatever way they feel most comfortable asking, whatever is genuine to you, because I really believe the connection piece is more important than the words that we're using. So for me, because I've worked in suicide prevention for a really long time, I am really okay asking, do you feel suicidal? Have you thought about killing yourself? You know, sometimes it might be easier to connect with someone's pain. I can see you're in pain. Is this something you may have thought of? Whatever feels most comfortable is the best way to ask.
So the next one is the P, the persuade.
And so persuasion is a little bit harder because someone who's feeling suicidal might not believe or realize that there is help. Right? Because they've been in all this pain and nothing is working. So sometimes we have to be a little bit more persistent and honor that place that they might be in. So we honor their feelings. We honor that they are in so much pain that this is the alternative that they've been thinking of. And then really try to be hopeful and persistent and share that hope with them. I think that's really the most important piece, is that, you know, if you're feeling hopeless and I can share just a little bit of my hope with you, that really could change the trajectory and really help you go on to get the help you need.
And what about the final piece of that, the R, the refer?
Refer. So I mentioned some of the resources that someone might be able to utilize if they were feeling, and I just really go through all of those resources and really talk about how we're able to link and what's the best way to link someone to the help that they need.
So QPR is a class, and if somebody wants to have Highland Rivers Health come, you'll be the person to offer that training?
Yes, I am the trainer for that. And then I also offer tailor-made. So sometimes QPR is great, but may not fit into the time frame that you need. So I definitely can do any type of suicide education and prevention awareness training that an agency or an organization might need.
And you mentioned earlier that the grant that you received was for a certain age group, and what was that age group?
So that was 10 to 24. It was the GLS grant, which stands for Garrett Lee Smith, and that grant has expired, but it was a 5-year grant. It was really effective, and I feel like we were able to put some really great sustainable pieces into place in our community in terms of making suicide prevention a lasting effort.
But you do serve all ages, right, in your role?
Yes, absolutely.
And when your job opened up to suicide prevention and awareness, did you feel like your training, you were equipped at that point to be able to talk to others about this, or has this journey included a lot of continuing education for you? Tell me about your educational journey to be able to offer this service.
Definitely. So when this position opened up, I was a therapist, and primarily over my career, I would say the biggest chunk was with adolescents, which I really enjoy. And obviously suicidal ideation and feelings is something that I had dealt with as a therapist and assisting people to kind of work through those feelings. But when I came on as the prevention specialist, I was overwhelmed. This seems like a big daunting task, right? And through my education and my continuing education, I really have been able to kind of recognize that this is a doable, ending suicide is a doable thing. Right? Which is where my passion comes from, prevention. We just have to reach the people.
And if there's I guess it goes back to the word stigma. There's a stigma. It doesn't mean that there's someone in your organization that is suicidal. If someone like yourself comes in, it's prevention and education, right? Mm-hmm. So if somebody has that stigma that, oh, I don't know if I want to teach that in my business, what would you say to them?
So I think at the beginning of the show, you were saying it's okay to not be okay. Mm-hmm. And we all don't feel okay at some point. And that is okay. It's just us recognizing what do we do when we don't feel okay, right? So if we're sick with the sniffles and a cough, what would we do? Well, most of us know we would go to the doctor. It's the same type of thing. It's acknowledging that it's okay to not be okay, and then kind of coming to this understanding of how do we help ourselves.
And how has the pandemic impacted you? Because I've talked to, like on our first show, we had a lot of providers, including Highland Rivers Health, that had to pivot to like an online model or a Zoom model, a technology model, whatever the case may be for the person. But how has your job changed because of the pandemic? And what have you noticed about people that you encounter as a result of the pandemic?
So I think initially we noticed a lot of an increase in mental health crisis, obviously. It has been a difficult 18, 19 months for all of us. It's a weird new reality, and we were all kind of making our way and trying to figure that out. We pivoted offering telehealth at Highland Rivers Health. I pivoted in that a lot of my trainings are via Zoom or some type of web streaming service. And I think that it was difficult at first for all of us to actually make the connection, through the internet. But now I think we've done a really good job of being able to connect to each other, even though we're not in person and sitting next to each other. And I think some of what we have dealt with throughout this pandemic is obviously with the increase in mental health crisis. We've all had to kind of step up to that to be able to offer services and treatment for those that need it. But I think it also has presented an opportunity for us to be talking about our mental health in ways that we didn't really talk about before.
And I think this program is certainly doing that. We're trying to pack a lot of guests in each of the episodes because there's only 5 of them. Don't know what the future of this campaign will be, but we appreciate people like yourself that are out there doing this type of work, because I'm not sure if people would know about it if we weren't bringing it to the forefront. I know that a QPR class has been taught before at Fannin County Family Connection. I'm not sure if you've been there to do that, but I would just encourage, if there's anyone in the community that would like to have this type of training, to just reach out to Highland Rivers Health to have you come.
Yeah.
Now tell me more about your holistic program. You did start off talking about that, but if you just do a general search of Highland Rivers Health and the services they offer for suicide prevention, you offer the early detection piece, your educational piece. Tell me more about holistically what you offer there. So
we offer education, raising awareness, reducing stigma, and really increasing mental wellness. So that might look like something that doesn't really have anything to do with suicide prevention, but really is increasing someone's mental health wellness. Mm-hmm. And then if someone felt like they needed treatment or weren't feeling okay, they could come in for services. We offer individual therapy, group therapy, family therapy, psychiatric care, psychiatric nursing, and then a variety of peer support services and community support services. And then we also offer support for people who may have attempted suicide previously and need support in that way. And we have peer-to-peer support for that as well.
And what have we missed today? Because we're going to talk about, coming up, the recovery piece. And Michael Mullet with Highland Rivers Health will be here to talk about that. So whatever the issue that a person has experienced, they are moving through recovery. They're moving through a positive, maybe there are ups and downs, but they're moving in a positive trajectory. What else could we talk about today, or what have I missed with the suicide prevention piece that we want to really drive home with people before we close today?
I mean, I think the most important thing is that if you think someone is struggling, the best thing you can do is reach out to them. For a very long time, we've put it on the struggling person to reach out for help, and sometimes that just feels impossible. So I would really encourage someone, if they've thought that maybe someone in their life that they care about is struggling, to reach out to them and let them know that you are there to help and to be of support. And then the other piece is, and this is really important, is that I want people to know who maybe feel like they are not okay, that it is okay, and that there is hope, and there is help, and there is recovery.
So if there are parents, there are teachers, there are others that work with young people or any person, what are the warning signs? Are there things that we can look for in others to ask the questions that can kind of lead us to start asking questions if we notice something? What do we look for?
So I would say when we talk about adolescence, any change in behavior, any marked change in behavior, if there was a previous suicide attempt, we know that that might kind of increase a risk or likelihood for another suicide attempt. Any type of substance abuse, especially if someone has been in recovery and they relapse, we know people are really vulnerable at that point. Any type of maybe moodiness or hopelessness. If someone feels hopeless, that's a pretty big indicator for us. Any co-occurring illnesses, depression, any unexplained anger, aggression, or irritability, any type of isolation. If someone is really involved in a faith community and then all of a sudden kind of withdraws from that, that might be an indicator. But really, I think to summarize, it would be any kind of behavior difference. So if someone is doing something that is out of the norm for them or feels concerning, you want to check in with that person.
And part of the reason that we're doing this initiative is because we don't have a lot of resources. First show, Highland Rivers Health was on our show. Here we are again today, Highland Rivers Health is on our show. So obviously your organization is doing its part, but we don't have a lot of resources. If someone is feeling suicidal and they're not able to text that number or make an appointment to go see somebody, they can do the open access process at Highland Rivers Health, either in LJ or Jasper, right?
Yes, absolutely. I would ask, it would make it easier and quicker if the person was able to identify that they were feeling suicidal, just in terms of triage, but they can always walk into Highland Rivers Health and let the receptionist know that that's why they're there and they're seeking help, and we will absolutely do everything we can to get them seen expeditiously and on their way to treatment.
And I think we've learned through this program that you said triage, it's just like an ER there for your location, which is just down the street, right, from us here on Progress Road in LJ, I think that Mr. Mullet's referred to before, or the fact that it's in Jasper, you go to that open access and they'll triage you through. So like you said, if you let somebody know that you are feeling suicidal, then you'll get triaged to the front of the line and get the service that you need.
Absolutely, and have support that day.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And we appreciate Noelle being here to shed light on suicide awareness and prevention, the month of September, Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. And we thank you for what you do for our communities. And I encourage you to reach out and again, give that email address if you need service from you particularly.
It's zerosuicide@highlandrivers.org.
Zero suicide, and that's what we want, at highlandrivers.org. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And stay with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about recovery with Michael Mullet of Highland Rivers Health and also two guests who are here today to talk about their recovery journeys. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to this special edition of ETC3 TV. I'm Kristy Lindstrom. Today's program is called Your Mental Health Matters. It's okay to not be okay. It's part of a 5-part series, a larger mental health awareness initiative in Fannin County. And joining me now is Mr. Michael Mullet of Highland Rivers Health. You are part of the Highland Rivers Health Recovery Focused Transformation Team.
That's correct.
And also the ladies that are here with me today, are here with us today, are on their recovery journeys. We have Leslie and also Jama here today. Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So, Michael, tell me, what is the Recovery Focused Transformation Team?
Well, I'm glad you asked. That's an internal team where we really try to promote and raise awareness of the principles and the ideas of recovery throughout our agency. People are familiar, I think, with the idea of recovery as it relates to substance use and
Yes.
someone living in recovery. But recovery is also part of living with a mental health condition. And it's kind of the same thing, really, when you get down to it, is that someone, whether you're living with a substance use disorder or a mental health condition, living in recovery, is managing their illness, they're responding to what happens so that they can live as independently as possible, as independently as possible in the community. So.
And tell me about the theme at Highland Rivers Health for Recovery Month.
Well, the theme this year for Recovery Month is Refuse to Sink. So
we all need to do that every day of our lives, right? Refuse to sink.
Refuse to sink. Yeah, it's, keep your hope up and be resilient. And, we're all going to face challenges at some point in our lives. And I think Anna said that earlier. It's just, everybody has good days and bad days, but refuse to sink. It's important to keep focused on hope and that you can do better, that you can get better, you can feel better.
And tell me how individuals get recovery and the treatment they need through Highland Rivers
Well,
Health.
all of our treatment is focused on recovery. So it's just a matter of we match services to what individual needs are, whether it's substance use, it may be residential, it may be intensive outpatient. It's the same with individuals getting treatment for mental health conditions. Whether that's just outpatient or peer group support or group therapy, there's just really a number of ways. But to start, you got to contact Highland Rivers Health, and we can go from there then.
And Leslie and Jama are here today to talk about their recovery stories. Speak to that.
They are, and we're really glad to have them. This is the first time in this series that we've had actually individuals who receive services from Highland Rivers Health to be on here. And I liked earlier that Anna referred to this as a mental health journey. Because that's good, because the stigma around sometimes illness or condition, but no, it's a journey. And some people, they face different challenges in the journey than other people do. So Leslie and Jama both participate in the peer group at our Gilmore Clinic, which is across the street here. And we were talking before the show just a little bit about the challenges that they faced and what recovery means to them.
And do you want to share that? Leslie, would you like to share what recovery has meant to you?
Well, I joined recovery in 2001. That's how long I've been a patient of Highland Rivers. And I joined peer support 3 years ago, and it's helped me tremendously. I started out with real low self-esteem, and I met the people there, and they have a wonderful staff, and they made me feel right at home. And I realized that it's okay to not be okay, and because I felt all alone. And then, I felt like I had comrades to help me get through my crisis. Because like I was telling Mike earlier, I catch myself going down the rabbit hole, and I have to keep looking for the light to swim out of that hole. But it's helped me a whole lot.
And what specifically has helped? Like what kind of classes? Because there may be others who have not sought help.
Well, at peer support, we do a bunch of different groups, like on depression. Mm-hmm. We might do a group on schizophrenia. And recently we just done a group that we hadn't done before, and it was on self-acceptance. Because I feel at that point in my life, I feel like I'm starting to accept the person who I am and not who I want to be. And that's how I can feel better being in my shoes than somebody else being in them.
And when did you say you started your recovery process?
2001.
2001. So it's been, like we said, a journey.
Yeah. I realized one morning that things just wasn't right. I didn't feel right, and so I admitted myself into the hospital, and then I went to Northwest Regional in Rome, and then I stayed there for a while, and then that's when the road to recovery started. And so I'm still with them. I've been peer support for 3 years, and I've met a lot of good people.
Yeah, what she didn't tell you is that on that peer group on self-acceptance, she actually led it.
Yeah, everybody takes a chance. Everybody does different groups, and so I thought, here's a group that we haven't covered before, and it was self-acceptance. I said, I'm going to do that one. And so we did that group.
You've come a long way.
Yeah, I have.
And what about you, Jamie? What's your recovery story?
Well, I've been at Highland Rivers for 2 years, mm-hmm. and I participate in the peer group as well. and it helps me a lot by going there. I had a lot of pain, and I was suicidal, and I wanted the pain to end. And the pain that I had was mental pain and physical pain also. And instead of committing suicide, I reached out for help, and I got the help that I really, really needed.
That's incredible strength to reach out.
It is.
And for you, was there a particular event that happened to trigger these feelings in you, or was it a process of just life in general? Or?
Well,
and you don't have to speak to a specific thing, but
Right.
kind of where did it come from?
right. Well, a lot of my pain, my mental pain came from my childhood, and I carried it around with me, and I had some recent events that triggered my pain to come back up, and I just never had dealt with that pain, and to be honest, I didn't know what a coping skill was.
Okay.
And so I had the mental pain and the physical. I had a lot of physical stuff going on. I knew something was wrong with me, but I just didn't know what. But I was diagnosed in April of 2019 with Parkinson's disease. So that helped me getting the diagnosis, because I knew something was wrong with me. I just didn't know what. And
That's a common thing that people say. They know something's not right. They're in tune with themselves. But it was that diagnosis that helped you to understand, okay, I'm not imagining this, it's something big is happening here.
Right. And when I reached out for help, I was admitted to the hospital, to a mental hospital in Villa Rica, and I was diagnosed with severe depression, PTSD, borderline personality disorder, and got on the medications that I needed to be on. And so now I make sure that I take my medications as prescribed, and along with the treatment for Parkinson's, and so I'm doing very well.
And here you are speaking out and educating others about your journey, and that's what it's all about.
Well, that's what I think too, and I'm so appreciative of them. And they all throw themselves here today. So I mean, that's like, if you saw them out at the grocery store, I mean, you would never guess what they may carry around inside of them. And I think that's true of most people. I got a question for you both, though. And one thing we talk about with recovery is really hope. And what gives you hope? Because there really is no recovery without hope. But what gives you hope? What keeps you going? What keeps you driving forward?
What keeps me going is waking up every morning.
That gives you hope?
That gives me hope for a better day than yesterday.
That's a good one.
Like a sunset is the beginning of a new sunset. Sunrise in another place.
So every day you're.
I think about the sun going down, but I know the sun is also rising at a different place, so it's always, light.
It's a chance to start over each day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's hopeful for you.
Yeah.
That's really great. What about
And
you,
hope
Jema?
for me is I like to take one day at a time
Mm-hmm.
and try to make tomorrow a better day than today.
Mm-hmm.
So just looking forward to tomorrow and what tomorrow holds. Try to make each day count, and tomorrow make it a little better.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
And Leslie, I'm going to ask you if there's somebody watching, and I always want to just kind of speak to those that are out there watching. If there's someone watching that might be in a situation similar to either of you, or they might need help, what would you say to encourage them to take that step, to make the phone call, to go to Highland Rivers Health or another organization? What's your message?
To not to be afraid to ask for help, you know, try to be comfortable, you know, and say, hey, you know, well, I was going to say my husband, and he died at 95 because of suicide.
Really?
And, yeah, and I wanted to tell people, you know, if you're ever feeling alone or you feel there's nothing else left for you in this world, you know, there's always somebody there to help.
Mm-hmm.
And
what's your message to those watching who may feel hopeless?
Oh, there's always hope. There's always just reach out and don't quit, because there is help out there, and you may feel hopeless, but there's always hope. There's always hope.
Well, one thing both of you told me when we met over the clinic before we came over here and just had a discussion is that you both realized as you went through this that you're not alone. There's other people. I think that gives a lot of people hope. And you told me that
yeah.
specifically.
everybody's not alone. Yeah.
You're not alone. And Michael, as we wrap up today, we have just about 5 more minutes. For somebody watching and they've never heard of Highland Rivers Health before, we try to talk about that, and that's my goal, is to expand the information. Tell people how to find you and how your open access process works.
Okay, yeah, Highland Rivers Health, if you've never heard of us before, we are a mental health and substance use treatment agency. We also work with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We serve a 12-county region of Northwest Georgia, but whatever county you live in, there is an agency like Highland Rivers that serves your county. So, open access, if you've never had services before, you can visit one of our clinics, and it's just open access, first come, first serve. Like Noelle mentioned earlier, if you are feeling maybe like hurting yourself or suicidal, be sure to tell them that when you go in, because they do triage and will move people up as a priority. Or you can call us, which is 800-729-5700, 800-729-5700. We answer the phone. The people who answer the phone, even though it's an 800 number, actually work for Highland Rivers and are either in Rome or Canton. And we can tell you when open access is, and eventually be scheduled for appointments with a therapist and into other services that are going to be good for what your specific needs are. So peer group services, like Leslie and Jema participate in, are good services for a lot of people, but other people may need something more intensive community-based services, or others, depending on their mental health journey, which I really like that term, maybe outpatient. So it just really depends on where people are and what their needs are.
And money sometimes is a stumbling block or a hindrance to service, but not at Highland Rivers Health.
No, not at Highland Rivers. We are a safety net agency, so we exist to assure these services are available in the community. So not having money is not a barrier to receiving services at Highland Rivers Health. And we also serve individuals without insurance, with Medicaid, with Medicare. So that's why we're there. I should point out, we've got the 800 phone number. We also have a website, which is just highlandrivershealth.com. Again, contact information describes all of our programs and who to contact.
And besides the persuasion of this gentleman to get you to come here today, why did you want to share your journey? Why was it important for you to share?
Well, it's just like the show's about it. It's okay to not be okay, and you know the word needs to get out, you know, to people that really needs help, and I wanted to help, and because you know it's a big world out there. And, we're just in, a place that we really don't know anything about, but it's a big world out there for somebody that feels lonely or anything like that. And I just wanted to help out.
Thank you, Leslie. And what about you, Jama? What's your motivation, or why did you want to come and share?
Well, I'd like to say it's okay. It's okay to not be okay, and to reach out for help. Help is out there.
And if somebody comes and is part of Highland Rivers Health and comes to any of these teams, they may see the two of you there. Does everybody come together socially?
In our peer groups.
In your peer
services, yeah. And we do have a big Christmas party for all of our peers, because we offer peer group services in 5 or 6 locations around the agency, and we do a great Christmas party.
Oh,
Yeah, we do. For all the peers.
Well, we appreciate you too, Leslie, Jama. Thank you for being vulnerable and coming and sharing your stories. We appreciate it so much. You both look beautiful today. Thank you for being guests. And Michael, thank you for being part of the show.
Well, thanks for having us and giving these ladies the opportunity to share their stories, because that they do more good than I ever could.
And is there any outreach? Let's say, for example, somebody is watching and they've got a group and they might want to have somebody come and speak to their group. Do these ladies do that? Do you do that? Who goes out besides
Yeah,
like
well,
Noelle?
it depends what they need, but they
Okay.
can certainly contact me if it's just a general presentation about the agency. If you go to our contact page, I am listed on there with my phone number and email. Happy
Okay.
to come out and speak to anyone about Highland Rivers.
Thank you. And that's the show for today. We're about 30 seconds out from the top of the hour. We thank you so much for watching this special edition of ETC3 TV. I'm Kristy Lindstrom. This program has been one of a series of 5 programs. One airs each month on the 3rd Thursday of each month at 3 o'clock right here on ETC. So hopefully that's easy to remember. 3rd Thursday, 3 o'clock on ETC. And the focus of this is the whole name of the show. The name of this campaign is Your Mental Health Matters. It's okay to not be okay. And as you've heard from Leslie and Jama, that truly is the story, because they're on their road to recovery. We thank you for watching, and we'll have another show for you coming up next month. But thanks for watching, and you be well. We'll see you next time.